Hello, we are live. Hello, hello. I'm Sandra Jennings, and this is Passion Speak, where we give those with a passion a platform to speak. And my guest this evening is passionate about at risk children and youth. I have Reverend Victor R. Patterson. And let me just, I'm not real big, Reverend Patterson, but I do want to introduce you because it speaks to your passion a little bit. I'm not real big on credentials and bios and what makes you important because I don't feel like credentials is required for passion.
Yes, ma'am.
But I do want to say this, and it kind of speaks to your passion. You are currently pursuing your Master's of Divinity at Northwest Nazarene University with an emphasis in youth, children, and family studies,
Yes,
right?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And you got of course you're certified in divinity. You have Christianity through scripture from Harvard University. You
Yes,
don't
ma'am.
have to explain any of that. You were appointed you were appointed pastor of the Cherry Street Memorial AME Zion Church in Pine Bluff, Arkansas.
Yes, ma'am.
And the most important, well, not the most important. Hold on. There's one other thing. You are a member of the Kappas. Do your Kappa song.
Yo.
Okay, good. Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity.
Yes.
And the most important thing is that you just got married on April 24, 2021. Congratulations.
Man, thank you.
I'm
I appreciate
excited
it.
for you. I'm
Thank
excited.
you.
And so you married the former Miss Ashley. It says Patterson, but what is her maiden name?
Low.
Low,
Her maiden name
Ashley
is Low.
Low.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I learned that she is from my parts in Michigan. So I have to get to know Ashley because that's very nice. And that is really actually strange. But anyway, my esteemed guest, Reverend Victor Patterson, welcome, welcome. We are going to talk about your passion and your book. How are you this evening?
I am well. Thank you once again for the opportunity just to get on and chop it up with you. I'm definitely ready to have a great dialogue and hope that we can bless someone else while we're doing this tonight.
Absolutely. I'll have to say that one thing that I learned, you and I have been affiliated business-wise as partners in another life, in another
Yes, ma'am.
business, and that's okay because we doing some business stuff on the side, right?
Yes, ma'am.
But most recently, you posted something, and this happened. I think I reached out to you like 2 or 3 months ago, and I saw that you are about to publish a book. Reached out to you, and it was the title of the book that I was like, that sounds like fun.
Yes,
And I
ma'am.
am going to show the title right now. 10 things I wish I had learned before I was 21.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, in some of our previous announcements, we said 10 things I wish I had known before I was 21.
Mm-hmm.
And you, since that time, acquired a new publisher
Yes, ma'am.
with a better deal, and they suggested you change the title, just adjust it just a little bit, and I like that. I
Yes,
like
ma'am.
that. So tell me what inspired you to go with your book?
Well, I have not always been the person I am today. And some of this was just because I didn't take the time to listen and learn from the adults that were in my life. They tried to impart their wisdom and their understanding, their knowledge into me. And I was one of those ones that just had to be hard-headed. I had to do it before I believed it was true. So I know if it happened to me, I know there was so many other young men out here that needed to hear my story, to let them know, hey, just because I'm where I am today didn't mean that I was always been in this position, didn't always was always in this place. So my job is always to go back and help somebody else out. So if my book can just help one person out, I will be highly grateful just to know that it helped that one person out. So this book came from pain. This book came from learning. This book came from experiences. And this book just came because it was a passion of something that I needed to get out and let everybody be a part of.
Awesome. And I have not read the book. I have,
Mhm.
yes, I have been briefed, and I do have some favorite chapters. Um, and I think one of my favorite chapters would have been. I'm not going to pick your favorite because I think I know what your favorite was. But one of my favorites was one of the. Well, back up. Let's go. Let's back it up a little bit. You have a passion for at-risk youth and
I
teens.
do. I do.
Would you like to speak to that at all? Because it obviously fed into the book.
Yes, ma'am. So, um, most people would say at risk, a child or youth is maybe someone that didn't grow up with a with both parents in the home or one parent at home, and that necessarily don't does not always say that is a at risk child or youth. I was fortunate enough to live with my mother to an age, and then from my grandmother I lived with. From my mother I lived with my father, and from my father I went to go live with my grandmother. So I always had support system there in place. Not only was my family there, but I had other mentors and things of that nature in my life that was there. So that really didn't classify me to be at risk. What made me at risk was the choices that I decided to do, knowing that I didn't have to make those choices. Meaning from joining gangs, from just doing all kind of crazy stuff as a child. And that I put my own self at risk. And because of that, I decided to let them know, hey, you don't have to make the same choices that I made. So because of that, I've worked as a social worker for Department of Human Services in Oklahoma for a little while. I got my bachelor's degree in child development from Langston University, and as you mentioned, I'm working on now on my master's, which will be done next May, and that's in children, family, and youth studies as well. I have a strong passion for that. One of my other jobs for with at risk was working for AmeriCorps Vista, where I worked for a company called Junior Achievement. And that was about financial literacy, teaching elementaries all the way up to high school about the importance of money. A lot of times we become at risk just because we don't know certain importance of money and things of that nature. So all the information that I was able to soak up over my 37 years, I just decided to make sure that I share that with someone else.
What's some of the things that you like? Oh, I like that. And I wanted to comment on junior achievement. My daughter was junior in junior achievement. I really liked that program, and I don't know what happened to it, even if it still exists.
Mhm.
It taught the kids how to be entrepreneurs, basically. So yeah, I know a little bit about what you're talking about. But AmeriCorps
Yeah.
also, right? Didn't
Yes,
you?
ma'am.
Okay, AmeriCorps is very credible.
Yep.
But on to the book real quick. I um Tell me, maybe we highlight one or two little chapters. We don't want to give away the whole book because it sounds like something that we would want. Um Tell me what's some of your favorite chapters, or at least one of them.
If I was to say a favorite chapter out of all 10 books, I think out of the 10 chapters, I think the last chapter in the book probably would sum up the book the best.
Okay, but
And
before you go there,
mhm,
talk to me about chapter 1 through 9, because I think I heard you brief me on the chapters before, and I
uh-huh,
think I like chapter 10 as well. But
mhm.
like, what are some of the other section titles?
Okay. Give me a second. I just want to make sure I pulled it up. Make sure I give you the right content. I know I wrote it, but sometimes your mind goes everywhere. So I just want to make sure I give you
Yeah,
the
it doesn't
exact
have to be
content.
verbatim because you got a new editor. They probably gonna change it anyway.
Yes, ma'am. So the first one is just pretty much how to build knowledge. I unfortunately I was kicked out of middle school. I took a knife to school in California, and the police officer saw the knife, and he took the knife and expelled me, or they expelled me from school, and I didn't have the opportunity to go to 6, 7, and 8 because of that, and so I was kind of homeschooled. And being homeschooled, I had to learn different ways to get knowledge. So from moving from California to Texas, and then from Texas back to Kansas City, I ended up at a school called De La Salle Educational Center. And that was after I got kicked out of the high school in Kansas City. And when I went there, I met a lady named Kalina Forte, who I call Q, and she helped change my life because at that time I was reading at an eighth grade level and things of that nature. And they wouldn't let you graduate from school unless you read, on the level that you needed to read on and make sure your math was up and things of that nature. And so learning knowledge, I had to learn that everybody had a different learning style. And so that's what kind of talks about in that particular chapter, knowing what your learning style is and learning that some people's are hands-on, some people can read books and watch TV or things of that nature, but everyone has a learning style, and it's important to know your learning style in order to build your knowledge.
Wow, that's one of the chapters?
Yes, ma'am.
That's awesome. I don't think everybody doesn't take that into consideration. I'm going to interrupt you because Mama Patterson has a comment.
Okay.
Congratulations on your book, son. I'm waiting to read this book. So proud of you. Spoken like a true mother. Yeah, so you got to do her proud.
Yes,
Thank you,
ma'am.
Mr. Patterson, for watching and for commenting. But go ahead. I want to know, and we're gonna wrap it up in just because it's just a glimpse of
Okay.
what you're doing. But I want to talk to you about your favorite chapter.
Okay. Let me give you the rest of these chapters right quick. I won't go as in detail
Okay.
as of them, and then I'll give you the last chapter, which is my favorite chapter. The second chapter is just the power of communication, and I just talk about the difference between talking and communicating, and I kind of just talk about how it's crazy that really human beings are only ones able to communicate, and a lot of times we don't communicate, we talk at each other. The third thing I talk about in my in chapter 3 is this: how to understand your gift and purpose. The fourth particular thing in my book I talk about is how to take responsibility of your actions. I was one of those persons that blamed everybody else, and I had to be the victim role. Victim. It wasn't until I understood that the only person I can control was myself until my life actually began to change for the better. So I like that particular chapter as well. Chapter 5 was to how to trust, how to treat others. Chapter 6 is talking about moderation and self-control. Chapter 7 is focusing on, if I can get to that right quick. Chapter 7 is focusing on the dangerous side of anger. I used to have a lot of anger, and I did all kind of stuff out of anger and frustration. And so I talk about what, some things that happened personally and the end result and how I overcame those things. Chapter 8 was trust your gut. Chapter 9 in the book, it talks about stand up for yourself. And the chapter 10, which is my favorite book, my favorite chapter in the book is It's Okay to Fail. And I love that chapter because a lot of people look at failure as death, as dying. A lot of people look at failure as something that is going to traumatize them for the rest of their life. And I had to learn that if you never fail, you'll never be in the position that you are today. One of my favorite things to do is watch football. I'm a big Kansas City Chiefs fan. And one thing I've learned about the Chiefs is if they win on a Sunday and Monday, they don't go back in the room because they feel like they're at a place where they can keep on going over. But as soon as they lose, they go back into the playing room and get on that drawing board and try to figure out what they do in order to not make the same mistake. So I love chapter 10 because chapter 10 just talks about everything that I did in this book, but how I let those things propel me to the place I am today. And if you don't mind me saying this, when I go out and speak with people, I always ask them a question. The question I ask them is, what is the hardest thing to do? And of course, you will hear all kind of things from time management. They talking about being paying bills, just all kind of things. And don't get me wrong, those things are hard, right? Mm-hmm. But I believe the hardest thing for anyone to do, honestly, is to tell themselves the truth. And the reason why I believe that's one of the hardest things, if not the hardest thing to do, is to tell yourself the truth, is because we worry about everybody else's expectations of our life. And when we worry about everybody else's expectation of our life, instead of being who God has called us to be or who He created us to be, we decide to be something that everybody else has painted us out to be. And so instead of living what God has called us to be, we try to please everybody else. At the same time, while we trying to please somebody else, they're not thinking anything about us. So they at home relaxing and chilling, going on with their day, but we taking time, energy, and giving them self-control over our actions. And those things propelled us in what we call the self-identity. And self-identity is a crisis. A self-identity crisis of becoming or being something that you are not, who you was not designed to be, just because you're trying to make somebody else happy. And self-identity crisis leads people to stress. That stress leads people to depression. That depression leads people to despair, where you really think that you have no reason to live anymore, that you're really ready to give up your life. It's not until I say you look at the mirror. Michael Jackson sung that, and I'm starting with the man at the mirror. And I love that song because he said he had to look at himself in the mirror in order to make a change. It's not until I was able to make a change when I looked in the mirror and I was able to tell myself the good, the bad, and the ugly. And when I was able to do that, I became, to me, one of the most powerful person in the room, because now I don't have to worry about what somebody else thinks about me. I can just be Victor. I didn't have to worry about what somebody else cared about me, because I knew who Victor was. And because I knew that, I knew what I was capable of. I knew what I was not capable of. And because I took the time to look in the mirror, my life began to change for the better. So that's what I kind of talk about in the failure chapter, talking about you have to look at yourself in the mirror. You have to decide that you can't live your life based off somebody else. You can't worry about what nobody else say, because at the end of the day, they didn't correct you and they can't change you. The only person that can change you is yourself and God.
Amen. I think you're going to make me cry. Who gave the pastor the mic, right? Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. The other Mrs. Patterson, she says, "Yep, just be Victor, because Victor is capable of amazing things through the grace of God." That's right, Mrs. Patterson. That's the wife, Mrs. Patterson, and then Big Mama, Mrs. Patterson, is also watching. And I love that they support you. I really love that.
Yes, ma'am. I'm grateful for both of them.
Yes. But we're not going to stay long, because even though I think I could, you got me. But anyway, so they're going to have to follow you on Facebook, because as a pastor, your time is split, and you studying for your master's. I see here, and you got stuff going on, and so you don't have time for a lot of the promotions that we do when we writing books. So
yes, ma'am.
we got another comment, Mrs. Patterson, Mom, but look at him. Oh, she says, but look at him today. God is good. His dad would be proud of him, the man of God he is today. She gonna make me cry for real.
Yes, ma'am. My mom, if anybody know my story, my mother knows my story. Like I was saying, I was kicked out of middle school. You know, I robbed people. I did all kind of crazy things. People would look at me like, you did this or you did that. I did. I didn't have to be either, because I come from both sides of my family are very, very spiritual. All of them are in the church. I come from a very musical inclined family. My mom's a preacher. I come from a family of preachers, of teachers on both sides. My dad passed away. He was a bishop. So I did not have to make the things or the choices that I did. I did it because I was just one of those kids just thought he knew better. But I wouldn't change anything that I went through, because I wouldn't be the person who I am today. And I'm grateful for that, because I realized that I have a story and I can talk to anybody, Because I'm not gonna. I mean, you name it, literally, you name it. I've done it. I've been married before. I found. I mean, I've just done my life story is crazy just to see who I am today. And people like, yo, I would not expect this from Victor. I got people in my inbox like, you the same Victor we went to school with. I can't believe this, and that's nothing but the grace of God.
And so Mama's saying that your book, you have your story intertwined throughout the lines in the book. Like it basically is birthed out of your book, right?
Exactly. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, if anyone is interested, I'll be interested in reading the book and even giving it to a teen or two.
Yes, ma'am.
So they'll have to follow you, or maybe you'll let me know, and I can also, follow up and post it. We
Yeah.
initially, when we set this date, you were all set to go with the other publisher, and then another opportunity opened itself, and you pivoted just like we do. We shift because
I was on the self-publish. I'm like, let me do this by self-publishing. But
uh-huh.
my wife and I, we submitted my book to a couple of different publishers, and both publishers, or the ones that we submitted to, both read it and said, "Yo, we want to publish your book." And so there was a publishing deal on the table where I just couldn't pass up. This publisher that I decided to go with, they not only would do everything that it takes to get the books produced, but it's going to be on all social media platforms. It's going to be in Amazon. It's going to be in Barnes and Noble. So this book is going to be everywhere. And so I just couldn't just do it, self-publishing, knowing that I had an opportunity to not only, get it to my friends, but I have an opportunity with a booking publisher to get it nationwide. So that's the reason why I decided to do that. And I'm grateful for the opportunity. I'm grateful for them even saying yes, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that probably said no to, but because they had believed in me, they said they would do it.
All right. Okay, well, I'm great to hear that. I'm happy to have spoke with you even before the book is coming out. Mom has something else. There's a story behind your praise. Thank God I let him live. Laugh out loud. Yeah, thank God, because we got a book and you guys have a preacher. And anyway, thank you for your time, Reverend Patterson. Again, 10 things I wish I had learned before I was 21. My name is Sandra Jennings. This is Passion Speak, where we give those with a passion a platform to speak. My guest today was Reverend Victor Patterson. Follow him. And if you follow me also, I will let you know when the book goes live, or, when it drops, so that you can get a copy. So your church youth or your at-risk youth, whoever it can touch. We're about growth in our communities.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Reverend Patterson.
I'm gonna personally send you when I get the books in hand. I'm gonna personally send you 4 copies signed. That way you can give them out to someone.
Oh, beautiful! And I got just a couple people in mind too.
Yes, ma'am.
Beautiful. Okay. So that's it for tonight. We went over, but I thought it was good.
Thank you again
for your time, Reverend Patterson. And
yes, ma'am.
Until next time. Thank you. Mom says, thank you for having him. Oh, absolutely. All right.
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.